Hello everybody and welcome back to another new vlog. Thank you for joining me once again. It's November, which traditionally is the point right at the very end of the the autumn here in the UK, and we're about to tick over into winter. Usually that happens around about the end of November, where we start to really notice the difference in temperature and climate, and we can see that we're ticking over into winter realistically. But last week we changed the clocks here in the UK. We're now on basically winter time, so we're getting dark in the afternoon very early, usually around about 4 o'clock, 4:30, and by the time we get to the beginning of December, it'll be even before 4 o'clock that it starts to get dark. So I've come out this afternoon to try and capture some of the late autumn light in the late afternoon. I don't want to stay too long because obviously I'll be losing the light at some point. I know where I am and it'll be easy enough to find my way back out and get home, so there's no issue about me getting lost or anything like that. But I just thought I'd come out and see if I could find something interesting that's using the last of the afternoon sunlight in the late autumn. So I'm going to stop and take a few photos here. I've got a couple of ideas in mind, so I'll set these up and take a few photos now for you. This tree just behind me kind of anchors the right hand side of my image, and then this branch that sticks out the top of it leads us across what appears to be a path running down underneath the tree. And it's obviously a well-trodden path because it kind of goes into a bit of a dip in between the tree line. So it looks as though it's somewhere where a lot of people walk through this bit of woodland, but you obviously can't see the path because of all the autumn leaves on the ground there, or the golden orangey brown leaves. But what I'm interested in is, as this branch here frames the top of the image, it kind of points us into the image from the right hand side towards the left hand side, and then just below here there's a little bit of light that kind of peeps through and illuminates the leaves on the other side of the path, and it feels as though that tree is almost leaning towards and pointing us towards the light on the leaves just at the other side of the path. So I quite like that shot. I've taken it now. It looks like it's an f11, so I know I've got everything from front to back in focus, and I think it's going to be an 1/4 of a second, and that just looks about right. It seems to capture the light perfectly just as it comes through the trees. So I hope you like that image. I'm going to move on and see if I can find another one for you now. At this time of year, late autumn, any light that does kind of come through the trees creates a very different effect than, say, in spring or early summer, because for a start the sun itself is much lower on the horizon than it is in the summer or spring, and the result of that is it causes those rays of light to be much longer, also causes much longer shadows. So you get these interesting areas where parts of the woodland floor are lit up as the sun comes through the trees, and they give it this really beautiful glow. And if you've got all these different coloured leaves all over the floor as well, that can also provide some very interesting colour when you add a little bit of light rays to that. So that's kind of what I'm looking for at the moment, somewhere where the light is just falling on a very specific area, and everywhere else seems very dark and mysterious, and the light gives us that little bit of intrigue. It's going to be difficult because there's not very much light left at the moment, and I think I may even end up going back to that tree that I've just photographed, because there's some light on the side of that tree just at the moment, and if I get a little bit closer I can really emphasise the light on the side of that tree. Yeah, I think I'm going to try that. There's a couple of other trees just by there as well, some silver birch trees, which may also look quite interesting in a shot. depending on how the light falls on them and where I'm going to stand to make the composition. I'll go and try this one out again first of all. So you can see that's the tree behind me, and now I've got this very interesting side light on the one side of the tree. So what I might try and do is capture this in a portrait orientation and just capture a little section of that tree, probably from the bottom of the tree just below the base of the tree, somewhere here, up to just above where the light is. I'm going to have to be quick with this because the light is moving quite quickly because the sun is already dropping on the horizon because it's late afternoon. So this is going to be an interesting one as well. There are a couple of interesting shots, but I've really had to work quite quickly with these, so I haven't really vlogged anything at all yet about them. I'm going to quickly explain them to you and then I'll move on. First of all, you can see the tree behind me, the one that I spotted first, and you can see now that the light is already fading on the side of that tree. That's because of the time that I've taken to take these shots. But then, just as I turn a little way around, you'll notice there's these silver birch trees here. So I walked across from here, across the other side of those silver birch trees, and put myself somewhere over in this direction, shooting back towards the silver birch trees as they had some light on the one side of them as well at that point. Putting this tree, the original tree, behind the silver birch trees as well, so you can see that in the background of the silver birch trees. Both of those were portrait orientation images because they suited a portrait orientation better. But then I came back to where I was, and as I've stood and looked back in this direction, you can see just beyond where those silver birch trees are, there's this area here which is kind of a path that leads through to the edge of the woodland, and you can see the light just spilling through there as well, and it seems to create this really nice ethereal effect in the background. So what I've then done is, where I've got these two silver birch trees, I've used this one here and the branch on the side of this tree that goes up in a triangular shape as kind of a leading line, and the path itself as a leading line back through the image, and that leads you towards that light at the back, in the background of the image. So I hope you like that image as well. That was a landscape orientation because it needed to be wider than it was tall. I'm going to see if I can find one more shot now while I'm here. Literally just a few yards walk from where I last was, and there's this cluster of trees just behind me here, and as you can see, the light is coming through, the sunlight is coming through the trees from this direction, and just then hitting the ground just in front of this cluster of trees and illuminating the ground and the trees themselves just on the one side, and then a little bit of the ground just behind the trees as well. And I love the colour of the leaves on the ground just in front of and behind the trees. It's working perfectly as the light comes through. So I just thought I had to stop and capture this one as well. And like I say, I'm literally only yards from the first couple of shots that I've taken, which are just a few yards back behind these trees over here somewhere. So I haven't walked very far at all, to be quite honest with you. And I've already got 3 or 4 very decent images. There may well just be one more here as well, so I'll go and see if I can find one more shot, and that'll be the end for the day. So using that same ray of sunlight that was coming through those trees over there earlier, and I was stood over in that direction shooting back towards these trees here, kind of from there to there, by using the same ray of sunlight that's coming through those trees, I've come behind the trees now and used some of that sunlight as it lights the ground to lead me into the image. The trees are obviously backlit from the sun, and I've tried to keep the sun itself behind the trees as much as possible. Hopefully I've managed to capture something of the rays hitting the floor just in between the trees, and your eye will be naturally drawn towards those trees. So I hope you like that image as well. I think I'm going to call it a day for today. I've got a few images that I'm quite impressed with, and it's worked out alright for me, to be quite honest with you, but I wasn't really expecting this. I came out with something else in mind and couldn't do what I wanted to do, and I'll explain that to you in another vlog. But whilst I've been here and I've spent a little bit of time wandering around this little bit of woodland, I've managed to find several images that I'm really interested in. So I hope you've enjoyed the vlog. If you have, please remember to give it a thumbs up, and also remember to subscribe to my channel, and I will see you again on another vlog very soon. Bye for now.